Let's get started, yeah. Hello everybody, so glad you're here to check out some DB SQL live demos. So I'm Patrick, I'm a software engineer on the Databricks SQL product. I'm here with Kent, he's a product manager on Databricks SQL. And yeah, today we'll be walking over some foundational stuff in Databricks SQL, as well as highlighting a lot of cool new stuff that we've added over the last year. So, before we get started, legal made me put the slide in, so basically, all the stuff here is for informational purpose only. Whatever we represent here may be subject to change. Just watch out for that. All right. So just a quick overview. If you went to Kevin and Gaurav session before, you might have seen this slide, or I think Reynolds showed it in the keynote as well. Data warehousing and Databricks SQL is a key vertical in the the Databricks platform. It's powered by strong governance tooling in Unity Catalog, as well as performance from Delta Lake and Uniform. But yeah, enough of slides. Let's get straight into the demos. All right. So what we have here is what your typical Databricks workspace homepage is going to look like. We have a revamped homepage, search is the front of it. You have access to your recents, favorites, and popular things that you might be used in your workspace. And if you go to the left nav here, you might be familiar with this part. All of your SQL-related tooling is put into one place. So it's like you have the editor. We're going to spend a lot of time in the editor. You can have list pages for your queries, dashboards, and alerts. And then some monitoring tools like query history and SQL warehouses that I'll touch up on the end. So first, just to give you an overview of what I'm going to talk about today, I'll go into a bit of the journey of like how do you get started with Databricks, like a bit of data ingestion and getting data in. Kent is going to go over some of the typical analyst journeys that we're going to show off, some of the cool AI features that we're building into the platform, and then I'm going to finish off again going over some monitoring and observability admin type stuff that you might find useful if you're administrating your Databricks SQL workspace. So, all right. So to get started, you obviously have to get your data into Databricks first, right? So if you go to the Add Data page, you'll see that we have a whole wide array of ways to get data into Databricks to get started. So for example, if we have a lot of tools for common flows. So for example, we're showing off this new Salesforce Sales Cloud native integration tool, ingestion tool. And actually, this will be shown off tomorrow morning in tomorrow morning's keynote, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. But if you're interested in that sort of thing, definitely attend. Go back. You have the option to, for example, upload files. If you just want to test out something on CSV, I do this all the time. If I just have some quick data from CSV or Excel, I just want to upload into Databricks SQL and try things out. We have partner connectors here from Fivetran that gets data in from all sorts of different sources. As well as you have the capability of, if you want to augment your data with data from another third-party provider, we have a really rich marketplace that really makes it really simple to access third-party data from that might help enrich your data set as well. So today we're actually going to demo Lakehouse Federation. So in the previous session they alluded to it a bit, but Lakehouse Federation is really the fastest way to get started with Databricks. All right, let's see. Uh-oh. Why aren't things loading? The Wi-Fi I found this morning was a bit flaky, so hopefully I won't have to switch to my phone. All right, let me just try this out.
1 minute in and we're off script.
Uh-oh. I shouldn't have scorned the live demo, guys. That was my big mistake. So. Oh no. Come on. Please. All right, we're back. Thank God for 5G. Okay, so as I was mentioning, Lakehouse Federation is really the fastest way to get started with Databricks, in my opinion. It's basically, if you think about it, you as a business user might have data in other silos, and it might be daunting to get started with Databricks. So Lakehouse Federation is basically a tool where you can essentially connect your Databricks instance to whatever external data store that you already have, and then query it through Databricks, and you get all the amazing Unity Catalog governance tooling on top of the Databricks platform with this external data. So it's really great way to get started on day one, as well as we know that on day 365 or something like that, you might still have large organizations with siloed data stores. Still a great way to leverage data. So how you get started is you go to external data, you can establish a connection, So here, you're basically establishing a connection to your external system. In this case, I'm going to pick BigQuery. So BigQuery is actually coming out in public preview pretty soon. Just to show it off, so here you provide your credential to your BigQuery instance with your service account. You can test the connection out here. So I'm gonna already skip ahead a bit, so you don't have to see my credential, and I've already done this all for you already. But if you go back, you can see, okay, I've created a connection here for the BigQuery. It has all these amazing fine-grained access controls that Unity Catalog provides. And with that, I can actually create a catalog and then get access to my data. So I'm also gonna skip this because I've done this before as well. And you'll see here that in the Unity Catalog, you have this BigQuery catalog available. So just to show you what I mean by this, I have the BigQuery set up already, or my BigQuery data set already. I have this quick electric vehicle data set that's just a demo data set. You'll see here are all the columns available. In BigQuery, if you're familiar with this UI, well, if you go here, it's actually the exact same table, all the same columns. It's the same data, right? We are literally going out to BigQuery every time you query this table and accessing the exact same data. And the amazing thing is that it has all of the amazing, governance and permissions and fine-grained access control and features like lineage and insights that are provided on the Unity Catalog basis, right? So I can go here and I can say, okay, the lineage, where is this BigQuery, table being used? And this is a sneak peek for a couple minutes later where I'm going to show off Materialized views. You can see it in the lineage graph, okay, what other tables are using this? And you can go to insights and say okay, who is using this in my workspace, right? So we're actually just gonna pop over here just to give you a quick show of what I mean by this. So you can see in my query editor here, I have a query that is running on top of both the tables that I'm importing from BigQuery, as well as another just bog standard table that I have in Databricks. So you can see that with this query, I'm able to join these two data sets together in a way that's really natural. It's just writing SQL in Databricks. You can also connect any of your favorite tools onto this, and it'll work just the exact same. Hopefully this shows you how powerful Lakehouse Federation is, right? You got all that great governance tooling, and it just seamlessly flows into Databricks SQL. You can't even tell, if you're just reading this query text, you can't even tell that I'm actually going out to BigQuery every time to run this query, right? Okay, but maybe in some case, you're getting established with Lakehouse Federation. Maybe you want to find, hey, I don't want to call out every time to BigQuery every time an analyst makes a query on Databricks, right? So a classic way to solve this in data warehouses is if you want to reduce load to a certain table or to a certain set of files, is to use a materialized view, right? So I'm really happy to announce that we're getting materialized views into Databricks SQL as well. So if you're familiar with materialized views from other data warehouses, this syntax probably looks pretty familiar. You can add a refresh schedule on top of it. You can add a select here. I've added a really rudimentary filter just to show off that this can really be any select query that you want. And if you're familiar with materialized views from other database systems, you'll know that okay, when I have this materialized view and my users start hitting it instead of the actual underlying table, it's a great way to truncate the amount. So you can refresh this on a daily or weekly schedule, and then your users are only hitting the materialized view and not actually going out to BigQuery every single time or whatever other source that you have on Lakehouse Federation. So I'm going to just show off here that you can just take this exact table. I'm going to replace this one. I'm going to run it. And yeah, materialized view just looks like any other table on top of Databricks. So you'll see that, again, it's another place where we can just replace it and it'll just work, right? So that's really, really cool. Yeah, by the way, if you're wondering where they have 500 cars per 1,000 people, it's the airport. It's the SeaTac airport. I found that was really funny when I found that out too. So cool. Yeah, just right before I switch over back to Kent, I just want to show off that hey, Databricks, we love creating really intuitive and free-flowing UIs. We love the Catalog Explorer as a way to explore your Unity catalog. If you're more of just a direct SQL user, or if you're familiar with that from other tooling, all that stuff I showed you about creating the Lakehouse Federation connection can be done in SQL as well, right? So you can create the connection here with your credential in just raw SQL, and then you can create the foreign catalog as well right here. It's very natural to do either way. We don't discriminate if you're using SQL directly, if you're using APIs, if you're using the UI. So cool. So with that, I'm just going to hand off to Kent, and Kent's going to go through our typical data analyst journey on top of Databricks.
Yeah, thanks, Patrick. So for this demo, I'm going to take on the role of someone who works at a kitchen supply company. So I'm interested in learning and understanding information about my sales and customer engagement. All right, let's dive right in. So we're talking about kitchen supplies. I'll search up kitchen. I use search because it's powered by AI in Databricks. It provides relevant search results, know the tables I've used, my query history, the context that I'm searching in. I can go ahead and choose one of the tables from my catalog. Brings me into the Catalog Explorer. I can see my 3-level namespace and the data sets that I have permissions to see. So I can see customers, orders, reviews, and SKUs here. These are all the tables I'm going to use to do my analysis. When I'm looking at this preview of the table, where I can see the schema and information about the table, what stands out is I now see my primary and foreign keys that have been set up on this table. And if I want to view the relationships, if I actually want to see which tables this particular table is connected to, I can do that now. I can just hit View Relationships, and this brings up an entity relationship diagram, and I can see how my orders relate to my SKUs table, which includes information about products, and my customers table, information about those customers placing orders, their location, etc. So a nice visual way to see those relationships. On the right-hand side, I can see who owns the table, its popularity, but I also get this new AI-generated description for the table. So writing table descriptions or column descriptions can be tedious, but they're really important because it tells people who are outside of the owner what these tables can be used for. So if I read through this one, it not only tells me information about the schema, but also tells me actual use cases in which this could be useful for, like tracking inventory levels, managing customer relationships. This is a great description. I'm going to go ahead and accept that. So I'm going to add a description for the table. I can also do the same for individual columns as well. So I could use the AI generate here. It'll just work for a second, and it's going to run through the columns and actually provide descriptions for those. So it's a quick, kind of seamless AI-powered way to generate descriptions that are really useful, and I could go through one by one. I'm just going to ignore those for the sake of time here in the demo. So now I know the data sets that I'm going to work with to do my analysis. I've added this table description. If in my organization I also used other external BI tools like Tableau or Power BI, I could go ahead and use the BI drop-down menu here, and I could see my options. If I wanted to publish this table to a Power BI workspace, I could do so directly from here. This will bring up the connection experience, and I can choose the appropriate workspace. It's all rather seamless. I don't have to go out, download a connection file, open up Power BI Desktop, load that in. This is just an example of the kind of deep integrations we're building with Power BI and tools like this, so more to come. Okay, so we've talked about primary keys, have an overview of the data sets that we're going to use. I actually want to show you an example of just creating a primary key and how that can also be useful. So I can say create query. This jumps me into the query editor. I have some queries already loaded. Let's talk about primary keys for a second. Let's say I have this simple query just to bring up, whoa, I hit run on all those things. That's not going to work. Run selected. So this just brings up a subset of data for this existing customer table. Now, if I wanted to select all the unique customers by ID, I might write a query that looks something like this, that includes a distinct. The distinct query will perform an aggregation and return these results. But in this table, I know that this identifier is unique, and so I can add a primary key simply by saying alter table, add primary key. And if I use the rely option, this will tell Databricks to trust that this column actually is unique. So this option is really important because it can take that same exact query, the select distinct, and actually transform it into something much simpler. So when I use that rely option with my keys, it actually improves the performance of queries like this. It removes unnecessary aggregations, it can remove unnecessary joins, it understands the modeling that's in play, and it trusts that you use this option. So something to do to improve performance of your queries. All right, back to kitchen supplies. We'll get there. I said earlier I want to talk about sales and also customer engagement. Let's go ahead and look at reviews. So I'll look at my reviews table. So I've got lots of interesting information in this table. I have rating information and I have reviews. Now, the reviews are text heavy. I could go through this sort of incrementally. That would be a bit tedious. But I'm not a data scientist. I don't know how to do text classification myself. I'm certainly not savvy with regex and have to go parse out some strings. But that's okay. In Databricks SQL, we have built-in AI functions that allow you to do some pretty sophisticated analysis off of data like this. Let me show you. So I can just bring up the AI functions here. Zoom in a little bit so you can see that. Now with this text, I could choose to analyze the sentiment, fixed grammar. If there was PII data, I could choose to mask it. I could translate it if it was in another language. So lots of options available. But of course, for me, I want to actually do some text classification. So let me zoom back out. I would choose AI classify. Classify requires a new column name, and then the labels that I want to apply to the data. I've already gone ahead and created an existing query. So you can see the types of labels that I would include, like price, heat retention, sharpness, the things that matter if you're selling kitchen supplies. This looks good. Let me go ahead and run it. So this is going to classify the text as I mentioned, and I'm going to see that pop up here in just a second. Great. So now I can see all of these labels applied to my text. This is looking pretty good. But I can also see in this table that I have the SKU ID. This is the only product identifier I have in the table. I also want to bring in the product name. It would be helpful to have the actual products by name that are being sold. So how do I do that? If I want to add a name, I need to construct a join and work with another table. But what if I don't know the other table or the other columns I need to use? This is kind of a common thing. I have to go search around for it, right? In Databricks now, I'm going to bring up the Databricks Assistant. So here underneath the shortcut for the catalog and my past executions, I can bring up the Assistant. This will start a new thread. Of course, I can see the closed captionings are on top of my actual area where I will be typing. So pay attention closely. But I'm going to use the Assistant to augment my ability to write out the right query. So here I can say, can you add product name to this query? Type that out. The assistant will think about it for a second. Very polite, says sure. We'll go ahead and add that. And then I can look at the actual query difference and can see that it's added product name. Great. It's actually created the join that I need with the other table. This is exactly what I was looking for. Let me go ahead and bring that query in, and I can run it. Now, as I take a glance here, I can see that my AI classify field still has that really long name, like from the actual function. So I can scroll over, I can see the product name, I can see this really long, terrible name for a field. I could ask the assistant, can you give my columns, let's see, friendlier names? And the assistant, certainly, so friendly. Comes back with this nice query. I can move that in. We'll run that one more time. So AI functions, they help you do this really sophisticated analysis. The Databricks Assistant can help me easily build the right query. It's all really useful. I feel more productive already. I'm going to go ahead and close this assistant. Now, on the subject of AI functions, let me just take one more tangent because they are so interesting. I have a couple of other functions that I've written here just to demonstrate how they can be used. So I have a large block of text that I want to summarize. I've already run this one previously. It's talking about Apache Spark. Now, you'd expect Databricks to know about Apache Spark and produce a really good description, and it does. But I wrote myself my own text here, Has anyone read the book or the series or the trilogy, The Three-Body Problem? Yeah? Nobody? Yeah, a few of you have. Okay, good. Well, I'm obsessed with it. So I wrote this text and I want to see how the summarize function can do. With summarize, it actually, I can set the number of words that it's going to summarize this text in. Let's see what it says. Three-Body Problem Trilogy by Sijin Liu follows a physicist through Chinese Cultural Revolution and a cop's investigation of mysterious scientist suicides linked to a distant cosmic threat. You can see why it's so popular. But yeah, it does a great job. And then we also have AI Query, another example here. I won't run it this time, but you can use open source or proprietary models. You can develop your own models and call them directly inside DB SQL right away. So it's a great way to use other models that you'd like to do. So what I really want to promote, though, is with these AI functions, I hope everyone goes out and tries them, gives us feedback. We'd love to hear it. Okay, let's get back to my kitchen supply store. I really do work there. Okay, this data looks good. I'm going to go ahead and create view. I'll pause just for a second. And this is where I get some autocomplete. Create view. Usually there's autocomplete. I think it'll come back. Why wouldn't it? Create view. No, not going to happen. Try commenting out lines 2 through 10. It's all right. I'll just create it myself. Reviews, products. I'm just seeing if it'll give me one more. No, not there. As. All right. This is how you create a review. I was hoping the Databricks autocomplete was going to pop up there and help me. That's okay. I'm not sure why it abandoned me at this critical moment in time. I'm going to go ahead and create this review or this view, because I want to go ahead and use this, this data later. Okay, so we've got a view, looking good. I'm going to test my luck, actually. I'm just going to do it and see if I can write a comment here, 5-star ratings, select star from reviews. Yeah, I guess the autocomplete is not working for me today. Sometimes that happens. If you want to ask questions about autocomplete and how powerful it is after the session, I'm happy to show you when this will all work. All right, so we've got...
No, I think it's because we did a lap.
Stop telling me what's going to fix it. I'm moving on. All right. So we've got a view. Looks good. At this point, I've got the data set up in the way that I like it. I'm going to go ahead and create some analysis, a dashboard where I can share with my organization. So I can simply say new dashboard. I could also use the new Genie space stuff that was shown in the keynotes this morning, but in this case, I'm just going to stick with dashboards. So when I create a dashboard, I need data to get started. I'm going to go ahead, select the table, kitchen. I'm going to choose my reviews and products view. And I can jump back to the canvas, create a visualization from it. Now I could configure my charts and visualizations manually, or I could use the Databricks Assistant and just prompt it with natural language. So I'm going to say, let's do that. Bar chart of number of reviews by class. So I want to count all the reviews that I've received based on those classifications that I created. This looks good. I could also say, just append this and say color by rating, because I also want to pull in that information. And there it is. I can accept that recommendation. So now I can see my counts by durability. I can also see the actual ratings. So yeah, I see a rating of 1 and 2 for durability, another one here for sharpness. It gives me some insight into the types of reviews that I see and where I might want to go look at improving the manufacture or delivery of my products. Okay, let's go ahead and add some weekly sales information. I'll need some more data here. I'll select the table. Sales are going to be in orders. So I have my orders table here. I could use the Databricks assistant to help figure out this query and extend it. Because I can see I only have that SKU ID, I also want the product information. I'm just going to go ahead and say left join and do this myself, because I actually do want to create an error and see how I can go ahead and diagnose that. Let me just copy this out. What have I done? SKUs S on SKU ID equals S SKU ID. So I've purposely written in something that I know is going to fail. And when I run it, yeah, I get an error here. I could go look at the error, figure that out, diagnose myself. Or I could just use the AI-powered diagnose error. This brings up the assistant, which is going to run the fix command, which looks at these errors and provides the right or a recommended solution for it. In this case, let me just do a quick diff. Yeah, I can see the SKU ID was the wrong field. It was actually an ID that I needed to join on. I can go ahead and say OK, rerun that, jump back to my canvas, go ahead and add a viz. I'm going to say weekly sales. Let me just close the assistant here. Yep, I can see my weekly sales. If I want this extended by, let's say, break this down by subcategory. And yeah, now I can see the trends for my data and then the more granular information about the specific products. I'll accept that. I'll go ahead and add a text just to the overall dashboard. We'll say this is Kitchen Supply Co. dashboard. Looks good. I'm ready to share. I could spend more time, kind of polishing and adding titles to the individual charts. But let's say this is good to go. I can publish. Publish this dashboard. Let's go visualize that. So now I can share this dashboard in view-only mode with the people that have the right permissions. But I could also share that further out to everyone in my organization, even outside this workspace, really easily, and say, share that here. It updates the settings. I could, of course, schedule here, schedule refreshes, subscribe to a PDF of this dashboard that gets delivered to my inbox, all good things. If I notice that there's some issues in the table just with the data or something that stands out, I can actually see the underlying tables just by clicking the info button, and I can go trace back maybe some issues with the data and so forth. Okay, so I've done the job as a kitchen supply company analyst. I've done most of this work here all in the sort of SQL surface area of the product. But what's great is I could also execute all of this same work within Databricks notebooks as well. So if I just jump over to this notebook, again, I have just some SQL text, some SQL statements here exercising the same data. And you can see I'm attached to the same SQL warehouse. So I'm using the same kind of ANSI compliant SQL, and I could run the same things in a notebook. Even in my notebook, I actually can see in this particular cell that there's multiple statements. In notebooks, I can see multiple results. So there's great advantages in terms of usability in notebooks. They're also, notebooks are natively integrated with Databricks Git folders. So you can leverage all of the best practices when developing code like version control, collaboration, CI/CD, etc. with notebooks. So that's great. And further from that, I could even go to workflows, create a job. If I wanted to run a specific ETL, I could just give this a test. Choose the same SQL warehouse and leverage the same SQL I've been using the whole time. Okay, so with that, I'm going to hand things back over to Patrick. He's going to talk about observability and monitoring. Thanks.
All right. Yeah, let's clap. That was awesome, Kent. By the way, it's not Kent's fault. It's my laptop, so I'll take all the blame. So, all right, let's head back to my user account. And yeah, lastly, we're going to go over a bit about administration, monitoring, and observability in the Databricks SQL platform. So if we come over here, go to SQL warehouses, you can see this warehouse that we've been using for the entire demo right here. If you click in, you have like a overview as well as a monitoring tab that lets you kind of see, okay, what's been happening in my warehouse, right? What's been running? How many clusters does it have under the hood? As well as a detailed overview of all the queries that any user has been running in the warehouse so far, right? So this is really nice. But previously, to be able to get access to this view, you either had to be an admin, like a workspace admin, or have can manage permissions on the warehouse, which is a really powerful permission, right? Like right now with can manage, I can edit the warehouse, I can change all the settings, I could go ahead and delete it, and these are things that might be a bit catastrophic of a mistake to make, so you might not want to have all of your users get this can manage level of access, right? So we just actually launched a feature in preview last week, actually. I'm really excited to announce that we have this can monitor permission that we have. So you can go into the permissions view and you can see that I've given my non-admin second user that I'm about to switch to this can monitor view. So if I go to the other view, it's another user because it's dark mode. And you go to the SQL warehouses. You can go to the same SQL warehouse, and now you get the same monitoring view, the exact same stuff that I just showed, except no ability to edit the warehouse, no ability to delete it, right? We've talked to a lot of customers getting feedback on this. They really appreciate the fact that they can federate out, the ability to administrate their Databricks SQL, Lakehouse, without having to give people a very powerful can manage access, right? Okay, so I alluded to this a bit, but like the query history here for the warehouse is also available in the left nav right here. If you go to query history, and the can monitor, as you would expect, works here as well, right? So if I switch to this warehouse in the query history, and you can see that normally I would only be able to view my own queries on that warehouse, but since I have can monitor on this non-admin account, I can actually view everything. So you can see the queries that I've been running, the queries that Quent have been running, et cetera, et cetera. So cool. All right. So the query history gives me a good segue if I go back to my original account here. The query history view is a really great way just to see what's happening in your Databricks SQL workspace. But it's a bit limited, right? So like we have all the data, but you're limited by like kind of the drop downs I provide here. It's a bit clunky to do very a deep analysis about what's happening, right? So we've been listening to a lot of feedback that a lot of our users have been providing, and we're really excited to announce that we're launching system tables for query history very soon, right? It's currently, if some of you are in the private preview, you might have had hands-on access to it. We're going to be launching in public preview very, very soon. So you can see that all the system tables in Databricks are organized into this schema right here. So you can see here that we have the query system, query history table, and this is the exact same schema that you have access to, or the exact same schema that you have access to in the UI and in the API currently, right? But it's in a very nice, like Databricks SQL format, right? You can use Databricks SQL to analyze your own Databricks SQL. I think that's pretty cool. So, all right, so I'm just gonna hop over to Insights as a kind of a quick way just to go over to my example query that I want to use. I'm gonna open it up here, right? And yeah, I'm just going to go over a couple of quick examples of like use cases that you might find useful yourself as well. So for example, if I want to find all the times that the queries have been failing, or somebody has been running failing queries, I can do a very quick like SQL query to say like, okay, all the ones executed by Kent and all that have the the failed execution status. And you can see that there. Kent's been running a lot of failed queries because he's been doing a lot of hard work to get this demo ready for you. So I think we should all snap from a bit here. Thank you so much for your hard work, Kent. All right, another use case that a lot of people have found useful is that you might want to find long-running queries. Long-running queries generally mean that somebody is doing something pretty expensive, right? So if we take a look, as you would expect, you can filter by the total duration column and then get a view of all of these long-running queries. So I might have to go talk to Alex in a bit and say like, hey, you're running some kind of expensive stuff here, we should talk about that. Or you might want to like search on the query text, right? So you can actually take a look at query text. I'm just doing a quick regex search on top of this query text just for anybody who's using UUIDs, because maybe in my organization UUIDs are sensitive. And we'll see that, hey, Ken has been running a lot of queries on UUIDs. Maybe you have to go talk to him about data security principles and stuff like that. And then lastly, we also provide performance data on the query history schema. So you can kind of run, this is just a quick example of me showing off that, hey, I'm going to find all the queries that have a very high proof percentage, right? If you're familiar with like partitioning in data warehouses, that means that, okay, the queries are probably pretty performant. Okay, so we got a lot of actually ones that are like, oh, that's because I forgot the order by. That's why. I should do that. Okay, yeah. So partition percentage is partitioning is pruning is a good way to see like, okay, where are my like partitions on my tables working really well. So you can see that Kent and I really good at running really performant queries. So okay, and then another quick example that I want to show you is that if you want to do some more advanced stuff with the query history, you can do so. I have a quick query here that let me see if I can zoom in really quick here. Oops, that didn't work right. Let me try this. Okay, so you can see that I'm trying to like aggregate the number of failed queries, long queries, etc. that people are running, and I can see that it's all played out right here. You can get a bar chart here. I can make this a bit bigger for you if you want. Right, you can do full screen. Awesome. So yeah, you can see like, okay, who's running the most failed queries. So maybe we have to go talk to Gaurav about why are you running so many failed queries, man? He's in the back right there. So sorry about that. Okay, and then the last one I want to show, I'm just going to slip in a really cool feature right here. If I can bring back my query window, is that, just a really quick show of like, they showed in the keynote about like, governance features like RLS and CLS. So I'm creating here basically a dynamic query, which is basically enforcing that whoever is accessing this, dynamic view, whoever is accessing this view is going to get their data filtered out by only the executions that they've seen, right? So, dynamic views are a really great way to just, provide that another layer of like data security, only letting people see the data that they've created themselves. So if I run this query, you'll notice that instead of like getting all the queries, I'll actually only get the ones that I've run because I'm providing basically a row level security enforcement on the view essentially. So you'll see, okay, I'm only getting the stuff that I'm running myself, right? So just wanted to slip in that really cool governance feature into this Databricks SQL talk, but I thought it was a really cool way to show off how the governance and Databricks SQL works all together. So. Okay, cool. So that's pretty much all we had today. I'm going to hop over to the slides, back to the slides really quickly again. As you can tell, this is like a whirlwind tour of what we're building at Databricks SQL. There's going to be a lot more sessions today. So I would take a look at some of these other sessions that I'm presenting right here if you want to learn more about SQL programming or data exploration or ingestion connectors tomorrow and AI functions. Definitely would recommend these to take a look at as well. And yeah, with that, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to sit through our session and have a wonderful day and hope you start using Databricks SQL.